Recording in session.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is a meeting of the Policy and Governance Committee of the Social Equity Council. I'm calling that meeting to order at this point, and I will now call attendance for the committee members. Avery Gaddis, Michael Jefferson,
Present.
Ojala Naeem,
Present.
Shirley Skyers Thomas.
Present.
Thank you. And I'm Ed Shirley, Chair, and we do have a quorum, so let's begin. First order of business is the approval of minutes, and we have two sets of minutes to approve, January and February. I was thinking we take those in chronological order. So in terms of the January minutes, may we have
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Next will be the February 15th minutes. That's our last meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And no abstention. Thank you. So the minutes are now approved. The next item on the agenda is the legislative updates. And for that, I'll ask Christina Diamond, to our legislative liaison, to give us an update.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So you should have all received my update I sent last week that House Bill 5150 passed favorably out of the General Law Committee with substitute language. That quite frankly is concerning, as some of the sections undermine the social equity intent of RERACA. So the council continues to oppose the hemp producers to cultivate cannabis, as the hemp producers' cultivation lots may be allowed to be located outside of a DIA. And a new section that was added to the bill is that it allows a hemp manufacturer to apply for a cannabis product manufacturer license. And that is particularly concerning, as I've heard that there are currently over 50 hemp manufacturers, and I've asked DCP to confirm that number with us. So those, I think, are the two major issues that the council will be opposing. Of course, there are several sections in the bill that we do support. And I had asked all of you to reach out to your legislative contacts, and particularly those of you who were appointed by House committee members. So I'm going to reach out to you to try to, we'll reach out to you to schedule meetings so we can talk through some of the council's talking points and help coordinate those phone calls with the House members. And then just for your reference, not that I'm counting, but as of yesterday, there are 7 weeks to the end of session. This is a short session. It goes by very quickly. And next week or the week after, Appropriations Committee will be submitting their budget proposal. So we'll have to look out for that. And as I said, this is a short turnaround time. We have 7 weeks. So just a lot of stuff happening right now. And then I did want to add that we will be scheduling a town hall session with the social equity applicants for council members, so you guys can hear from them directly, not only their legislative concerns, but also for them to talk about some of the other work that we're doing. So that we're hoping to schedule during the week of April 8th. I think
Okay.
that's it for right now. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Christina.
Mhm.
Good morning.
Good
And
morning.
then
Through you,
next we have, after you, Councilman Jefferson, Councilwoman Naeem has her hand raised. Please, go ahead. Councilman
I'll
Jefferson.
defer to Councilwoman Naeem.
That's okay. Go ahead.
All right. So on the matter that we discussed in the last couple of meetings, has there been any discussion around the renewal and
Mm.
the enforcement of the social equity plans on renewal for those who are given licenses
We
in the
have not,
legislation?
yeah, we have not talked about adding any legislation around that. I know that we had reached out to DCP. They were waiting for their former legislative liaison left, and they have a new legislative liaison, and I know that they were waiting for that person to get on. So I think we need to circle back with DCP, but I'm not exactly sure that that is something that will realistically happen this session.
All right, so do we have, and maybe this is a question for the executive director, and do we have a temporary plan in place to deal with those scenarios in case they arise? I'm
So
talking about
we're just,
renewals.
thank you for that, through you, Mr. Chair. So right now, we are just in the process of approving plans. So everyone we have about a year, maybe 9 months before those reports start to come in. So we have some opportunity now to kind of figure out what the best practice is and should be for ensuring that those plans are done annually.
Okay, thank you, Madam Executive Director. And through you, Mr. Chair, one last question for the legislative liaison. Christina, this new legislation, give us a sense of its favorability. What do you think in terms of its passage? What are we looking at here? How much support does it have?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. This bill, the last session, I think you remember that the THC levels with the hemp were increased, and there was concern that a lot of the hemp businesses would be put out of business because of that. And I think you know, this new bill that was introduced, there's a lot of enforcement issues that were, or provisions that were added to this bill this time around. And I think there's sort of a balance between wanting to, you know, help the hemp businesses versus trying to, of course, update the RERACA with what we know now. And so I'm not exactly sure where we're at in terms of favorability, but I'm still trying to get the temperature on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Jefferson. Councilwoman Naeem.
Thank you so much. One of my questions was already answered. I guess the only quick short one I've got is, I know you mentioned, Christina, wanting to connect. Is that something you hope to be able to do in the next week or two and try to get ahead of, in front of the legislators, you know, probably before the end of next month, since it's such a short session? Do you have any sense on when some of this legislation might come up for vote?
Yeah, so what I heard, well, the House is meeting on Monday, March 25th, and it sounds like they're going to be doing judicial nominations and then any commissioner appointments. And that's it. That's all I'm hearing right now. And then I heard that they weren't going to meet again until like mid-April to talk about move forward with any legislation. So that's what I'm hearing right now. And I do think conversations need to happen with House members. I'm already reaching out to them. You're certainly one of the council members that are appointed by a House member. So I will be reaching out to you this week so we
Okay.
can talk about that. Yeah. And
Great,
I'm
thank
already
you.
in conversations with Representative Rojas's staff. So,
Great, thank you.
yep.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Naeem. I have a couple of questions. I just want to make sure I understand what's being proposed, because it sounds like to me what's being proposed is that there can be cannabis growing on hemp farmers on the hemp farmer property. That property does not have to be in a DIA, which means that it would be growing outside of a DIA. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so what does that do in terms of DIAs? I mean, doesn't that pretty much destroy the whole idea of having DIAs as a special area in which we can establish these businesses? I'm just asking, and I don't know, but so.
Ginny, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so I think the thing we have to remember when we remove cultivators, micro cultivators, or the cannabis industry outside of the DIA, this legislation was not only meant for people to own and operate businesses, it was meant for the people who live in those DIAs that have been affected. So when you remove cannabis from the DIAs, you create barriers to transportation for jobs. You create barriers for people to get jobs in these companies that they were originally intended to be close by. So that's a concern, that I have, that if we keep diluting the presence of the cannabis companies within the DIA communities, these folks in the communities will have no way to get to these jobs and participate fully. Not to mention some of the tax that may go with the companies to the municipalities that are not DIA communities. That's another thing. So there's a 3% in certain licenses, take 3% with them to the towns that they're in. And so if we can, like I said, if we continuously allow the DIAs to be diluted of the cannabis industry, we have nothing.
And we spent a lot of time, as you know, Executive Director Clay, defining DIAs and refining what that meant, and making sure we got it right. And this seems to be something that would undermine all of that work and effort, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But so anyway, and what's our timing on that, Christina, in terms of getting our word, in terms of making our feelings known?
Yeah, I think the time is now. As I said, the House is going to meet on the 25th, and I believe they're just going to do judicial nominations and commissioner appointments, and then the House will meet again sometime mid-April. So I think now is the time to start reaching out to the House members, because this is a House bill, and it'll go to the House first and then move over to the Senate. So again, if you have any connections with House members, now is the time to reach out to them.
Okay, thank you.
And we'd also like to know if you are reaching out to them
Yes.
and you have something scheduled or planned, we'd like to be with you if possible. And or if you cannot, we'll get that meeting scheduled and attend that meeting with you as well.
All right.
Yep. And if you
And,
don't know who your legislator is or need contact information for them, I can certainly help provide that as well.
Great. My last question is in terms of this committee getting the word out to the council. Executive Director Clay, is that something staff will do, or something you are doing?
Ongoing. We're constantly updating. Anytime we hear something, we send an email to the full council.
Yep. I typically send my updates out on Fridays unless something significant happens midweek, then I would send something, but look for an email every Friday for legislative updates and any new developments.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns, comments on this particular part of the legislation? If not, then I think that brings us to the good of the order.
One other thing, if I could just add, if someone is reaching out to you, I know that there are lobbyists that are reaching out directly to council members. And if someone reaches out to you, can you please notify Christina and maybe direct them back to her for a coordinated effort and or response? Because sometimes a simple answer to a question could trigger something that we don't want to miscommunicate, and we'd like to know what people are asking and what people are saying to members of the council.
Okay, thank you. We certainly will do that. If there are no other items to come before this committee, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, thank you. That concludes our
Thank you,
meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
All in
you,
favor?
everybody.
You're welcome. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.